Welcome to The Feminine Frequency, a podcast designed to awaken your feminine energy, elevate your confidence, and embody your authentic expression. I'm your host, Amy Natalie, women's empowerment coach, feminine embodiment guide, and author of The Feminine Way. Each week, you'll receive a new episode filled with feminine wisdom, inspiration, and practical tools to remind you of the power that already lives inside of you. Make sure to hit subscribe so that you don't miss an episode, and go to the link below this video to download your free Empowered Feminine Morning Ritual. Ready to dive in? Let's do this, sister. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Feminine Frequency Podcast. Today I have some very special guests that are near and dear to my heart. I feel emotional just being in this space and seeing these ladies on the screen, and really tuning into the journey that we've been on this year and really feeling the transformation energetically and physically that I see within each of you. So today we are going to be diving into more about your own transformation journey and to really offer the inspiration and empowerment to our listeners for what's available when they courageously lean in, when they invest in support, and when they are fully committed to their personal development journey. And that's something that I really see in each one of you. I see so much courage, even just sitting here today saying yes to being on the podcast. I know this is huge for you ladies. Most of you have been, all of you have been Feminine Frequency podcast listeners. And so to be here, to be heard, to be seen, and to be courageously sharing your story is a huge gift. So thank you. I'm going to start by celebrating you ladies and thanking you for being here. And we're going to start off with some intros so our listeners can get to know you, and then we'll dive into some juicier questions about your journey. So, Catherine, I'd love to start with you, babe.
Yes. Hi. And thank you for inviting me. I'm like fangirling so hard. It's so weird to be on the podcast that you've been listening to in a cool way. So yes, Catherine, I am turning 39 in 2 weeks, like 13 days. And I am in tech sales, have been my whole career. I teach yoga sculpt on the side, avid dog lover, volunteer at a local rescue, which is how I ended up with my little Sour Patch Kid. And yeah, it's about me.
Awesome. And where do you live?
Oh, and I'm in Boston.
Awesome. Beautiful. And we'll go with Ashley next.
Hi, Ashley. I'm in the San Diego area and I'm 46. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 23 years now, working with kids in the special education area. I'm a mom of 3, and I also teach yoga on the side. I've always had some sort of a side hustle, usually sort of fitness related, and it's just organically moved to yoga now. And I'm very excited to be here. I love listening to your podcast, so this is crazy to be able to be on it.
I know it's such a gift to be here with you ladies. So thank you for being here. All right. And Kyrie.
Yeah, hi. Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Amy. My name's Kyrie. I am 31 and right now I live in Austin, Texas. And I would say about me, what you should know is that I am a student of life. And my biggest passion is having a human experience full of the full range of human emotions for the purpose of my own growth and so that I can ripple the effects of my growth onto everybody around me. So yeah, that's me. Oh, and I'm an avid cat lover. I have 2 cats. I'm a cat mama.
Yay, amazing. We welcome the furry ones here too. They might be in the background at some point. So, as you can tell, all of these ladies are coming from different backgrounds, but one thing that I feel like you all have in common, well, a couple of things that I know that you all have in common is your commitment and your devotion to your own personal growth, and also your desire to make a positive impact in the world around you and to be the light for others in some capacity. So that feels really special to be able to serve you ladies, because I know that this work not only serves you individually, but it also ripples out into your communities. And something that I know about each of you before registering for the Multidimensional Woman is that each of you had done a lot of personal development work. This program was not the first time that you've taken a look at your self-awareness, taken a look at your patterns, and you had either been on a path of yoga or leadership of some sort, right? And I want women to know that, because there's always deeper layers of the work. And I created the Multidimensional Woman Mentorship for women who want a more advanced training and who not only want to be aware of their patterns, but want to break through them and want to shift them and really step into their most authentic self and really embody their confidence. So that's what we've been up to in the 13-week mentorship. And I want to start by asking each of you where you were at on your journey, what you were struggling with, what you were desiring to accomplish to break through before you signed up for the Multidimensional Woman. So who would like to start us off? Ashley.
Hi. I was just in a place where I felt very stagnant. And, I've got goals and desires that I wanted to achieve and reach for, but I really felt like I needed support in order to kind of clear out some of the past or stagnant energy and just be on a path of growth. So I needed some sort of program or training or coaching to help just to move me through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And when you say you were feeling stagnant, how was that presenting in your life, either emotionally or relationally or in your career?
I think that I just had reoccurring energy and situations that would just, I felt like we're kind of just like in a spiral state rather than being able to step out and move through. So just with personal relationships, wanting to be more of a leader for the people around me and for my children. And I knew that I needed kind of like that breakthrough situation, and wasn't able to feel like I could do that on my own.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I know a lot of women who can resonate with that feeling of stagnancy and stuckness. And I know that when we feel that way, especially for women who are ambitious and you have big goals and dreams, it can be really disheartening and can be discouraging to know that you have things you want to create in your life and you want to see changes in your relationships, and just feeling like you're not there and something's standing in the way. So I know that feeling of stagnancy and stuckness is not something only that you struggle with, but a lot of women struggle with as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. And Catherine, would you like to share next?
So the reason I reached out was because, well, it was because I listened to your podcast, and it was actually an episode similar to this where you interviewed a client of yours from the past. And so much of her story resonated with me, but like why I reached out was that I just was like frustrated, honestly, with myself. Like I had this recurring pattern where I kept choosing a partner that would prioritize other women over me. And it was like annoying. And I was so sick of knowing what I was doing and like not getting as in touch with like the feeling of it and like I was like, I had done a lot of therapy, and so I had like logically tied, my childhood to my behavior, and like, okay, I had made logical sense of things. but I hadn't really been like feeling into what was going on for me in these relationships. And like, yeah, so it was just this truly like frustration of my lack of like connectedness with what I truly needed, like denying what I needed, and who I was really. So that was, I mean, why I reached out. That was why I reached out over Instagram. But I do love that I was like trying to fall asleep to a feminine frequency music, like megahertz. And I found your podcast and I was like, oh, I need to put this in my queue. And I remember where I was walking and listening to your podcast for the first time along Com app, like vividly. So I was like, this just feels right. But that was what like inspired me, was this frustration I felt. And I was like, it's got to be beyond this logical breakdown of everything I've been doing through therapy. There's like got to be another way to approach this.
Beautiful. Yes. And that's a lot of what we do in Multidimensional Woman, is a combination of the mindset and embodiment work. And I feel like all three of you ladies and the other women in the group had a lot of breakthroughs when it came to really being in touch with your emotions, with your body, and learning how to work with those emotions and alchemize them and process them. So we'll talk more about that. But yeah, that shows up definitely in the realm of relationships. And I love that you had the awareness of, okay, I keep attracting the same thing. Like there's a pattern here and I am the one who gets to shift this, right? So really grateful you shared that. All right. And Kyrie, where were you at before starting Multidimensional Woman?
Okay. So when I decided to reach out for the multidimensional mentorship, I had already been on my personal development, self-growth, self-healing journey for about 6 years. I've read so many books, and I've been a part of a gratitude circle that meets every single day, which started in the beginning of the pandemic. And so it's been so deeply ingrained into my life to spend every single day devoted to gratitude and devoted to the process of healing and growing and becoming a better version of myself and spreading ripples of joy and love. And when it came down to how I wanted to express that to the world through either, like, I've experimented with having a YouTube channel, and I've discussed starting a podcast with my sister, and even just on my own. And like, I felt like I had this message of all this amazing work and all this awesome growing that I had been doing personally, and I wanted to share that with the world. It feels deeply important to me to be able to share that with the world. And I kept finding myself, again, we're going to use the word stuck. I kept finding myself stuck with these limiting beliefs that, like, I just could not break through to get started, or at least even know how to show up as my like empowered, confident, like deeply self-assured version of myself, so that I could show up and actually start to share. And yeah, so I knew that like, I've listened to your podcast, and like I said, I've read a million books, and I have friends who we've discussed all kinds of healing modalities. I've been in therapy. And what I was really missing was a community that was going to meet with me and hang out and talk about it and have this like soul sisterhood connection where we would hold each other accountable, we would hold each other up and be there for each other and support each other. And that was really what I was missing. So when I found out that it was going to be a group effort, I was like, yes, we need that. We need that. I need a sisterhood in my life that is on similar pages, but different walks, you know? So yeah, that's where I was at.
Beautiful. And one thing that I want to highlight about your journey specifically is that you had been attending like my free workshops for a couple of years, maybe since before you registered for Multidimensional Woman. And I remember you participating and going all in and like really, really being supportive to other women and like showing up fully. And I remember you sharing like, I really want to join your group program and like, I'm not ready yet. And so I want to ask you specifically, what was the shift? And I know there was a lot of fear in like even investing and really going for it. What was the shift for you from going from free offerings and reading and podcasting to being like, I'm ready for mentorship and I'm ready to go deeper?
Oof. We're gonna mention money. We're gonna
Yeah.
mention money in this conversation. I do not have an abundance of money flowing into my life. And I had this narrative that like, I'll invest in coaching someday, whenever I can afford it, whenever money just flows into my experience magically, whenever I manifest that, only then I'll allow myself to actually like put in the money and put in the effort and put in the work. I knew that working with you and working with a group of women, like-minded women, was worth way more than money can buy. And what I was going to get out of it, like the money wasn't even a question. But it was at first. Like it took me a bit to kind of remove some of those money blocks because, the mentorship is not free. And I had been utilizing all of your free resources, and those were really amazing and really beneficial. And I think at the end of the day, when you decide to invest in yourself is when you really start to show up, because money has value.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I was very afraid. I was very afraid of investing money because I didn't have a lot. But at the end of the day, it ended up being so worth it.
I know that most women have some type of money block, scarcity, and fear of, okay, if I invest in this, am I actually going to get results, or can I trust myself to show up? Right? I think that's a big one. And I really celebrate you for seeing the vision of what was possible for you and for being so courageous, because I know there was a lot of fear. And yeah, I'm excited for us to dive in a little bit deeper of what the shifts have been for you. And I really believe that this is just the beginning of you living in this new identity and continuing to, yeah, be in the exploration of showing up as your most confident self in the world. So thank you for sharing that, because it's not always a yes right away, but it takes a lot of courage. So thank you for sharing that. All right. So I would love to hear from each of you. What was the inner shift that was the most supportive for you? Maybe it was something with your self-talk, maybe it was something with your emotions, with your body. Like for you on the inside, what was the biggest shift through the Multidimensional Woman Mentorship? And I know it's hard to say like, oh, this was one thing, because it's a full transformational experience. But if you could pick one, maybe two that you wanted to share, let's dive into that. Catherine.
There were areas that like, there were so many things that you opened my eyes to, and so many things that I'm like still exploring and unpacking, which is really cool that like you can integrate even post mentorship. But for me, what's been like the most resonant and like day to day for me is firstly, like the emotional alchemy and honoring my emotions and like using them as messengers. Like, what is my body trying to show me? That has like truly been transformational. Like every day, like emotions obviously come up. I'm a very emotional person and like I love that about me. And I think prior to the mentorship, it was a part of me that I like kind of shamed. So like hand in hand with that was the tame, getting to know my inner critic a little bit better and like sort of befriending her and getting behind the actual criticism. Like, what are we actually really talking about here and judging? And I know we talked a lot about like good girl programming, and I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, for me, it was cool girl. Like, obviously, I had good girl programming, but also cool girl programming that like I had to drop that shit. I was like, this is not cool with me. Like, no, honoring what is cool with me and what is not cool with me has like felt so much more, earthy and juicy and like just way more comfortable. And then the emotional ride is a lot easier to navigate. when you're in that. So yeah, I think it was like the emotional awareness, like physically, and then processing those emotions and also honoring them and being like, okay, anger, I see you. Like, what are you here to show me? Let's take some time together, process you, and then peel back like, okay, maybe a boundary got crossed. So that for me has been like at work, in my personal relationships, literally everywhere. That's been the most transformational for me.
So powerful. I love a few things that you shared there. One being able to recognize your emotions and not judge them and really start to accept them, listening to your emotions, and then having boundaries and really being clear, oh, actually this dynamic or this interaction doesn't feel good for me, and I get to say something about that, because when our boundaries are crossed, that's often where the resentment, the frustration, the anger comes in. And one of the things that I've seen through your process is, instead of being super reactive to your emotions, that you've started to find ways to process them in a way that's more effective, that's more supportive, not only for you, but also for your relational dynamics, which is huge. And one of the big aspects of our program is about power. And when we give our power away to our emotions, or when we give our power away to circumstances that we can't control outside of us, then we're the ones who end up being depleted and not having energy for the things that we want to do. So I really love this awareness of taking your power back from your emotions, not making them wrong, and not letting them completely take over your life.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Ashley.
Okay. So one of the first things that I did with you was an embodiment session, and that was before the program started. And I think that really got me set and ready to begin this journey. It helped me really release some anger and kind of get rid of a bit of like a victim mentality, and move that through my body. So that shift has carried through the whole program and continuing through my life. And like Catherine said, I continue to integrate everything and notice things, obviously well after. And I know that it will just continue and grow. So I'm, I know that the effects and the shifts that I've experienced are not done yet. So it's like a catalyst for a direction that we're moving in. So, and I've just noticed that I've kind of just been able to use my experience as like a filter. So when things come up, or relationships, I can kind of look through a different filter now and judge, like, is this authentic for me? Am I honoring myself with this relationship, or with this choice? And it's just kind of put a new filter through how I view my life and decide what I want to do and how I want to grow.
So powerful. I really want to highlight what you said about the embodiment piece, and to really break down for people who have never done an embodiment session or used embodiment techniques. What Ashley is referring to is when we go into the body and we work with the somatic release and really touching on past memories, past emotions, those emotions are stuck in our body. And one of the energetics that was present for Ashley was a protection over her heart. And maybe you had some conscious awareness that that pattern was there, but to really go into the body and to work with the sensations that are there, that's how we start to move the energy and to release it. And that stuck energy can be there from childhood, or it can be there from a traumatic event that we've had in our lives as adults. I think so much of therapy can focus on childhood, but really, whether you have a parent who passes away, or a conflict with a partner, or you go through a divorce, whatever happens in your life, those all impact how we feel. And a lot of times we end up having this protection because we don't want to get hurt again, or we don't want to open our hearts again. So through our somatic work together and through the embodiment work, we were able to go deeper into the memory, deeper into the experience, and then to actually start releasing those layers of protection. And this reminds me of another member from the group, another sister who was in the group, who talked about her experience as like her heart and the walls around her heart were melting, right? These were like tight walls that she had been holding on to for protection. And through understanding how to be in her body, not just analyze the pattern, but being in her body and feeling the sensations, she was able to melt those walls. And it takes so much courage to feel the pain that's been in your body that maybe you've been avoiding, or you've been afraid to go back to that experience. But that's where the deeper healing happens. So thank you for sharing about your experience. And yeah, there's such a wide range of possibilities and healing that can happen in any given embodiment session. And we do some deep embodiment work in the program as well. So thanks for sharing that, Ashley.
So powerful.
Yeah. And Kyrie, what were some of the inner shifts that you noticed?
Well, I'm really grateful that I'm going last, because I want to highlight that like there were so many shifts for so many of us women, that as Catherine and Ashley were both talking, I was like, oh yeah, that happened to me too. And so I get to share another one. Yay. So something that's really, really special that I experienced during this mentorship was that I had the same experience that Ashley is talking about, but obviously a little bit different because it was in my body. Oh, probably a lot different, probably so much different. But the point is that this mentorship was really the first time that I had ever learned how to embody different emotions and really like move the emotions through my body. And what that did for me was it created space for something else, you know? And Amy, the way that you organized this mentorship program was we did an embodiment session, and that broke through some stuff for me. It broke through some serious stuff for me, and it made a lot of space. And what we did after the embodiment session was you taught us about the feminine archetypes and the different ways that feminine energy can manifest in our bodies and in our expression. And since we had done the embodiment work where we were alchemizing emotions and making space for something new, and then you introduced this new idea, this new to me, this new concept, I was then able to, I had the space to like embody, I had the space to embody the different feminine archetypes when I needed to. I could call upon different aspects of the feminine whenever I needed to, because I had let go of a lot of the stuff that had not been serving me. I was able to actually feel the parts of me that are already there, that wanted to be felt by me, because I wasn't stuck feeling the old garbage. I was able to let that go. And so, yeah, when we learned about the feminine archetypes, it became obvious to me like which archetypes typically show up for me and which ones I need to develop a deeper relationship with. And in learning about these archetypes and deciding which ones I wanted to develop a deeper relationship with, you gave us modalities and you gave us these tips and tools on how to connect to different parts of ourselves and how to call upon them whenever we need to. And I've been doing that ever since the mentorship, and it's been hugely profound, hugely profound. I feel like I'm showing up as the version of me that is authentic and necessary for each and every moment, which is just so huge.
Yes, I remember so clearly the breakthrough after the feminine archetype workshop and embodiment sessions. I remember a huge shift for you. And that's something that I really love about this mentorship, is that everyone gets something different and everyone has breakthroughs at different times. And Yeah, the feminine embodiment or feminine archetype work is so powerful because it does allow you to access these different parts of yourself that have either been suppressed or that you have never connected to before in this lifetime. And what I love that you shared is this old identity or these old parts of you were falling away and were dissolving through the embodiment work. And that created space for you to connect with your true self. And the feminine archetype work was the methodology and the tool that helped you to start to awaken and bring online these parts of yourself that were already true for you. Like these archetypes live in the collective consciousness. They're not just like new in the last like few years. Like these have been around for centuries. And I love that you're able to use this tool of archetypes and really embody different qualities and parts of yourself that were maybe underdeveloped or you hadn't created space for, you didn't have space for before. For you, Kyrie, what was an archetype that used to be more comfortable for you, that used to be kind of more safe for you? And what was an archetype that you felt like you really wanted to embody more of and that was supportive for you to connect with?
Mm. So the most comfortable feminine archetype for me personally is the maiden, the fun, playful, spunky inner child who just has so much wonder and awe. Like that's where I sit the most comfortably. And through this work, I was able to identify that I need to develop a deeper relationship with my queen archetype, the part of me that does exist. She's in there and she's confident and she's ready to go and she can recognize other people's talents and she can delegate work and she's strong and she's in her power and she's in there and I can feel her. She's in there. And I wasn't even aware of her in the beginning of the mentorship. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and the beautiful thing is that there's space for your maiden too. Like she's still welcome, she's still part of you. And also when you bring more of the queen online, it feels more grounded and more empowered to have both of them there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
totally. Yeah, I feel like when I embody the maiden, which is very comfortable for me, I'm very flighty
Mm.
and I'm very bouncy and not focused, not very focused, which isn't a bad thing. There's a time and place for all of that. But yeah, feeling very grounded in the queen is it's new and it feels amazing.
Mm. Yes, I love that. I can feel that in you. And I'd love to offer the same question to you other ladies around the archetype work. What was an archetype that you wanted to, when we were in that part of our journey together, that you felt drawn to working with, that you wanted to bring into your life more? Catherine.
Yeah. So similar to Kyrie, like the maiden is widely available to me. I'm like just a big goofball. And I love, yeah, just like same curious. My first words were, what's that? Like always just been sort of my nature. Um, but the archetype that I like was really drawn to working with was the seductress. And I think I even had like a one-on-one session with you, Amy, about like, how can I have so many blockers around her. Like, what is, like, why have I suppressed her so much? And so, you really helped me like ease into more play with her. Like, and starting small, I was like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do all this stuff. And you were like, maybe just do it at home to start, start small. Why do that? Why open this up to the wilds? Start small. And so I did. And like, it started with little things like, you know, dancing in front of my mirror in like more seductive clothing and just like feeling more sensual, like articles of clothing, like silky things. And now sometimes when I do like my like dancing and embodiment stuff, I do a lot more like hand touching on myself and closing my eyes and just feeling a lot more of the pleasure around the seductress as opposed to like seducing people. It's like I'm kind of just seducing myself. So that's been
Yes.
a fun one to flirt with, so to say.
Exactly. As the seductress would. Yes.
Yeah.
So another word for seductress is like the sensual siren. And, it is really about tapping into the pleasure and the sensuality. And so many women have blocks around the seductress because there is a lot of shame that we carry around our bodies, around our sexuality, around our sexual expression. And there's so much to work with there. So really beautiful to see you cultivating a new relationship with this aspect of yourself, and excited to see how it continues to support you in your authentic expression.
Yeah, I'm excited. And also I feel that like once you start tapping into these things, like things start presenting themselves as opportunities for you to like get deeper. I just feel like that the universe organically presents like ways to dive deeper into that exploration. So it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love the way that you tap into the magic and the synchronicities. You do a beautiful job at that. Yeah. All right. Ashley, how about you? What archetype did you feel most drawn to working with?
Well, I feel like I'm the opposite of Kyrie and Catherine. Um, I am most comfortable in my sage and just being independent, kind of in my head a lot, organized. I just got to keep the ship tight and keep things going and the kids. And, that's kind of where I go in my comfort zone, I would say. So tapping into the maiden for me is a little more unnatural and getting into being more playful and adventurous and things like that. So that's a little bit more outside of my comfort zone. So it's fun for me to play there. And I think the easiest way for me to kind of connect is through music and movement and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been fun to see you tapping into more of your maiden. And yeah, it's not about making, the sage aspects of you wrong. Those are all really beautiful, and we still want her to be there. And it is so important, I think, especially when we have a lot of responsibility, and when, especially for you as a mom, and there's, a lot of adulting that happens. And then add on top of that, where we tend to be really hard on ourselves, or when we're on this personal development path, we can take it so seriously. And so the maiden can really help to bring back that awe, that wonder, that curiosity, that playfulness, and yeah, that innocence that is so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what external shifts in your life have you noticed? This could be in the way that you interact with other people. This could be courageous actions that you've been taking that you weren't taking before. This could be putting yourself out there in new ways. What external shifts have you noticed through the inner transformation that you've been experiencing? Ashley.
Okay. Well, it was very interesting. I was spending some social time with a good friend who actually noticed something in me. And it was really neat to kind of have that mirror up for me to have somebody else recognize, I guess. Just he said to me, no matter what is happening around you or other people are kind of putting off, like you are just non-reactive, and it doesn't matter what the external circumstances are. You're just maintaining this who you are, I guess, rather than being reactive. So I thought that was interesting. um, and then I just feel like if there is something that comes up, I feel like I'm able to get back into alignment quicker. I use my tools and like I mentioned before, just kind of have this different filter to look at things through. And I just feel like that just kind of connects me back to myself faster.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Kyrie.
I think one of the biggest external shifts that I've experienced since doing the mentorship is when I went into the mentorship, I did not really trust myself to show up and do my practices. And I've really cultivated a deep devotion to my daily practices. I've been waking up and I've been doing my gratitude. I've been journaling. Something new I added to my morning practice that I didn't do before the mentorship was self-celebration in my journal, which is also something I'm doing to connect to my inner queen, is really just acknowledge myself for my wins, which is something I did not used to do. And It feels really good. And also, a lot of people have been telling me, like, what's your secret? How are you so confident? Which is just, that just feels so good to hear, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, confidence is magnetic and people feel it when they're around you. So I love to hear that you're getting those reflections as well and that you're feeling that way too. Catherine.
Yeah, I think for me, similar to Kiri, in terms of daily devotion, like I never did, I through the mentorship was guided toward guided meditations. So I now do that every morning and every night. So it's kind of just a nice way to set an intention for the day. I found that like, and this is all truly through like your guidance, is setting that very simple intention around like feeling, like what is my feeling for today, joy, peace, and being able to stay more grounded to that when, as Ashley was mentioning, like things are going to come up, like shit's going to go sideways, someone's going to say something like or do something or whatever, and to like remind myself of that, like how joy feels in my body in that moment, and like how calmness feels, and being able to hold myself like that has the daily intention setting has really helped me externally show up better at work and in my friendships too. And I actually also have situations like similar to Ashley where we would literally come off of a session, or I would come off of doing um, one of the either meditations or embodiment things in the library through the mentorship. And so like similarly, a guy was like, "What did you do today?" He literally asked me if I was on drugs. I was like, "Nope, I'm not. I'm just super magnetic. Don't worry about it." But yeah, I mean, it truly like emanated from the inside out, and that showed up. Like friends have noticed it. That was a guy I was dating. Like he noticed it. I mean, I didn't tell him. I was like, this is totally going to be my little secret for right now. He knew I was doing the mentorship, but he didn't know I had like just come off a call. So I thought that was kind of fun. But yeah, like I think that, and then the last thing I would say that's really transformed my external is what I mentioned earlier, like boundary setting, and that feeling so authentic and like relieving. It's truly allowed me to stay connected to that intention and stay connected to my body, because I'm like, nope, that doesn't work for me, or like taking a break, saying no to things. I've been feeling a lot more comfortable, quote unquote, letting people down by saying no, because it's like what I need. So that's been the biggest like external shift.
Yeah, letting go of that cool girl persona archetype and bringing in more of that authenticity. And that really allows for so much more intimacy in our relationships. I think a lot of people can see boundaries as something that they're afraid to do because they're afraid that it's going to push people away or people aren't going to accept them. And what I've found is the more honest and authentic we can be, then people know how to relate to us. And it's clear what feels good and what doesn't feel good versus it just being like passive aggressive energy or you not wanting to engage as much with that person. Like it's so powerful to hear you talk about boundaries as a way of being authentic and how that's really served you in your relationships. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. I would love to hear, what was your favorite part about the mentorship? So, over the 13 weeks, the different aspects that we had, the different workshops, sisterhood, embodiment sessions. I know it can be hard to choose one because they're all very different and have different aspects. What do you feel was your favorite part? Kiri.
Embodiment for sure. Being able to, I feel like most of my life, at least, most of my adult life, I've been living from the neck up. And being able to really feel all my emotions and be able to identify where in my body I've been holding it and then letting it go, releasing it through movement is just, I did not know how to do that until I was guided. And I'm just so grateful. Embodiment was so big for me. Like So many tears. So many tears of just letting it go. Ugh, so great.
Yeah, I think more recently I've been seeing a lot of people share about how important it is to feel your feelings and process your emotions. And it's so much easier said than done. Like, really, if you haven't processed your emotions or don't have the tools or understand how to tap into them and how to release them effectively, like, it's not that easy to do. And so, as a feminine being, we have such a wide feminine range. We have so many different emotions that we experience every single day and throughout the month. And getting trapped in those emotions or ignoring and suppressing those emotions, it has such a huge impact on all aspects of our life, not only how we feel every day, which impacts our vibration and our frequency, but it impacts our relationships, it impacts how we show up at work and in our businesses. Like, it's so key, fundamental for women to be able to do this. So thank you for sharing about the power of embodiment. Yes.
Can I just add to it really quick?
Please.
How I said that I used to live from the neck up entirely. That phrase that you just used, which is we need to feel our feelings. I would spend hours feeling my feelings, because when you're living from the neck up, you're thinking your thoughts. You're thinking way too many thoughts. And if you're not in your body, it can persist. So feeling your feelings, if you're just stuck ruminating over what it is that made you feel however you're feeling, it takes a long time to get through it. It really does. But I've noticed that through learning how to embody it, I've been able to significantly shorten the amount of time I spend in a triggered state. It's huge.
Powerful.
Can we take a beat to talk, like, because I don't want to like I don't want all of us to talk about embodiment, but it like actually is that freaking insane. Like, and Kyrie, I remember during the embodiment session we finished and you were like, whoa. And I like, what was so powerful is that we actually went through like what feels like a 360 of emotions. Like, we started I felt every emotion under that I've ever known to exist in my body, like
in an hour.
Yeah. It was, do you know those commercials where the guy's like hysterically laughing and then hysterically crying and then like, and it's like, that's how I was like, oh my God, I'm hysterically laughing. Then I immediately went into crying. I was like, whoa, this is like wild how available this is in my body. Like, it felt so great. Yeah, was truly transformational. And I use it a lot. Like, I've hit a lot of pillows. I've danced a lot, yeah. So I don't know if I should just go and say embodiment was my favorite thing also.
If that feels true for you, that's what you get to share.
It really was. But I was going to say the sisterhood, just because like I mean, the embodiment was really great for me, like in my daily life. But I just think in general, I felt that the sisterhood was so beautiful and that we were all so wildly different and yet deeply connected. And like, it just showed me that just like that alignment was so, it doesn't have to be that unusual. Like, we are all connected, and like, it doesn't matter age, religion, demographic, truly didn't matter when you come down to the heart of like the beauty of femininity. Like, that was what we all sort of agreed on and like were celebratory of. So I thought my favorite thing of the mentorship was the beauty of the sisterhood, but I think as like my takeaway, it would be the embodiment.
So well spoken. Thank you for sharing about that. Yeah, it's amazing that none of you knew each other at the beginning and how quickly you ladies deepened, and the amount of vulnerability and authenticity and support and celebration. And there were times in this group where people are writing in our group chat and they're like, hey, I have this big trigger coming up, or I have this big thing that just happened. Is anyone available to talk? Right. And just like multiple people being like, yes, like, let's hop on a call. Like, I want to be there for you. And I think that's really, really unique and so powerful. And yeah, it was such a highlight for me as well, which is why I love doing group work. Yeah. Ashley.
Okay. I love that I got to build an entire toolkit. So, I can just say to myself, how do I want to connect with myself today? And maybe I'm reaching for a mantra, or I'm doing some embodiment or journaling or whatever it is. Like, we were able to build like an entire toolkit that we can take with us and just use for the rest of our life. So that was my like biggest takeaway, I would say, just to support me. But also the sisterhood. And I just think that showing up vulnerably and authentically with each other, and just having the sisterhood, it really was like such a mirror. We were all so different, but whatever someone shared, I was like, yeah, same. Like I could relate with just about everything everybody said. So it feels good when you know that what you're feeling, other people are also feeling, and we can either support because we've been there, or hear how you're supporting them and take that also. So and then just even now we're still connecting with each other. So that's really fun.
I love that. Yeah, it was fun to see some of you in person at my San Diego book launch event, and I wish everyone could have been there, but we're going to do a retreat next year and so many opportunities to keep the love flowing. Yeah. Kyrie, did you want to add something else, love?
Sisterhood is so important, and I feel like letting people see you and really being given the opportunity to see other people in that like really true, raw, deep expression was super powerful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a magic in sisterhood and a healing that is so hard to put words on, because there's no way to really describe what happens when you feel seen and heard and understood, and when you don't feel alone in your experience, because so many of us grow up and we're like, oh, I'm the only one who hates my body, and I'm the only one who feels unworthy, and I'm the only one who struggles in relationships, and I'm the only one who is unclear about my purpose. Like, so much internalized shame and internalized aloneness. And really, when we come into these spaces with intentionality for growth and healing and a shared desire to support one another, like, all of that fades away. And what's left is this commonality of, yeah, we're all human and we all have stuff, and there's nothing wrong with me. And like, how beautiful it is that you get these reflections from other women of your own power and your own beauty and your own creativity. It's like this mirror that happens. And I truly believe that in each of these groups, and I've experienced this myself in masterminds I've been in and retreats that I've gone to, like the women who are drawn to each group at that time, there's a synchronistic like magic of why you're all meant to be in that group. And there's a mirror that happens with the women in the group. So even if on the first call you're like, yeah, we're so different, we come from different backgrounds, we live in different parts of the world, and I have kids, I don't have kids, I'm this age, I'm this age, like, we're all women navigating this world together and trying to figure out, like, how can I be my most authentic self? And that's the shared commonality. So much beauty and power and magic and healing in the sisterhood, and can't express enough how beautifully each of you showed up to lean in, to be courageous, to be seen, and to support one another. Yes. Okay, we have one final question. Okay, how would you describe, if I say, like, what is the multidimensional woman? Like, what does that mean to you to be a multidimensional woman in your own experience? Ashley?
I think it's a woman who continues to grow and can really connect with herself, recognize her needs, and support herself to grow and meet her own needs and fill her own cup.
Beautiful. I see you doing that. I see you embodying that in your life.
Thank you.
Catherine?
I think of the multidimensional woman as like the beauty of this and that. Like she is messy, but she is beautiful. Like, and she's beautiful, not but. Like she is unapologetic and she's gracious. She's just able to like be all of the things and let that flow through her. And I also like when I was thinking about the multidimensional woman, I'm like, she's also a woman, but she's also the collective. So it's like she is an individual and she's so grounded in that individuality, but is also deeply and widely connected like to the feminine collective. Um, and like in tune with that, natural, like universal force. When I think of like a woman, I think of mother, I think of mother nature. Mother nature is a force and she is beautiful and like mysterious. And so I think of that just like this beautiful duality that is embodied in this like one person and also connected to the others.
Mm,
I don't know if that makes sense,
yes.
but it just kind of like is
We
in my
got
head.
head nods for
Okay.
people who are not watching the video. We got head nods going. Yes, it makes sense to us.
It made sense in my head, I swear.
Very poetic, very beautiful. I love it. Kyrie.
Yeah, Catherine, that was actually very well said. Totally resonated. The multidimensional woman to me, in my experience, is, like you said, Catherine, very connected to the collective, understanding how she is the same and also uniquely different and powerful. And she's confident and willing to step into that power at any given moment.
Yes, mic drop. I love that. Yeah. And when I was creating the multidimensional woman, I didn't really realize, but she's like her own archetype. And I
Yeah.
kind of see her as all of the archetypes, like a woman who's fully embodied in her fullest expression as her authentic self, living in her power, living in her confidence, and letting herself be seen and sharing that with the world. And I believe that through each of you sharing today about your stories and each of you doing this deep work and courageously leaning into this mentorship, you are that embodiment as you move into the world and as you then be that example for other women. You be that permission for women to let go of the people pleaser, let go of the cool girl, to set those boundaries, to be connected to their joy and playfulness, to be in their queen, right? Like all of that is available. So deep, deep, deep gratitude from my heart and my soul to yours, to each and every one of you and all of the women who were in the mentorship. And yeah, I want to open for one last round. Anything that you would share to a woman who is considering the mentorship, who's like, oh, that sounds inspiring, but like I'm not 100% sure yet. Like, what would you offer to her as we close out this conversation, Catherine?
What I this is like readily available to me because I've talked to my friends about it. As like a quote recommendation, but like this is a part of you that it is in you, and like the mentorship is an opportunity to give this part of you the like nourishment it's probably been starving for in the competitive go 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 male dominated world that we've lived in. Like let her have some airtime, like let that girl out. She is going to guide you to just a way more fulfilling, representative of you life. So I would just say, like, she's in there, girl. Just give her the environment she needs to grow, right?
Powerful. Yes, she already lives inside of you. Ashley.
It's just so powerful to invest in yourself and to invest this time, like 13 weeks, like that's like a quarter of a year. Like that is just a huge amount of dedication to focus on yourself. It's really a gift. And also, Amy, your coaching is just so powerful. And, you know, I hear your podcasts and I always have takeaways from that. But to be able to actually speak with you about my needs and hear you give support and really careful and you just really think and give very specific feedback for each person and suggestions and tools. And it's very authentic. And that was really huge for me.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think I want to just highlight one piece there is that even though this is a group coaching program, there's so much individualized support, and you get to hear me coaching other women and really seeing yourself in their challenges, their patterns. So yeah, there's a lot of availability for every single woman to be seen, to be supported. Yeah. Thank you for that, Ashley. Kyrie, what you got for us?
I would say if you reach deep into your heart and ask yourself if there is a part of you that wants to come out, that feels like it's been suppressed, ask yourself who you want to be and see if you can be in touch even just a little bit with your intuition. And if you've been on this journey and you've been working on your own self-growth and your own healing for a really long time and you still feel stuck, there is a supportive space for you, and it is here for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your energy. And one of the things that I absolutely love about these deep, intimate spaces and really getting to know each one of you and cultivating a relationship is that our relationship doesn't end when the program ends. And my wish and my desire is to watch you flourish and to be here to cheer you on, to celebrate you, and to support you in any way possible moving forward. So I love each of you. I'm so grateful for each of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. And let's blast all of our listeners with so much love. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks again for joining me here on The Feminine Frequency. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe and share it with a friend. For more inspiration, empowerment, and wisdom, come on over and follow me on Instagram at Amy Natalie Co. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video.